I guess the first thing we need to clear up is that this is not the arcade Super Xevious. The arcade Super Xevious is just an upgraded Xevious system. The Famicom one is a whole new game. And to use its full title, it's Super Xevious Gampno Nazo, or Mystery of Gamp. Gamp would be the evil supercomputer that was behind everything in Xevious. And it's definitely an expansive sequel. There's now stages, and there's a lot of them. There's power-ups to collect. Every stage is its own mission with its own separate goals. And they don't tell you what any of those goals are because it's a Famicom game from 1986. I'd swear that they were attempting to counter the rental market, except there was no game rental market in Japan. Before I get too deep into this, I have to talk about the packaging. This is the first game where Namco used their clamshell packaging. A hard plastic case with a pocket you could slip the manual into. They're going to continue using this packaging for quite a while. The other aspect of the packaging is that Super Xevious is our first shiny cart. For some reason, Namco loved their foil-covered cartridges, though they don't seem to hold up too well. As a shoot-'em-up, Super Xevious still follows the Xevious rules. Your ship can fire forward, and you can bomb some ground targets. The story in this one is that after your battle with Gamp in the first game, you get sent back in time along with one of your compatriots. Now is your opportunity to learn all of Gamp's secrets and maybe put it to an end before it starts. Not that you'll really see any sign of that story as you play. You just start shooting your way through the stages. The thing you have to know about Super Xevious is that shooting your way isn't always the solution. Every stage has a goal, and some of these aren't too difficult to figure out, but some of them are especially obtuse. And if you don't complete the goal, the stage winds up looping. It only takes about a minute before you start looping, too. The dynamic difficulty has been removed, but if you loop more than 3 times, the enemy patterns change and become more difficult. Handily enough, Stage 1 is a good primer on how Super Xevious goes off the rails. You fly along a little bit until you reach these clouds. You can't see what's in them, and if you fly into them, you can't see yourself. There's some flying mines that drift around, so you can never be completely sure that a cloud is safe. And your goal on the stage is to fly into the correct spot in the cloud that will warp you to the next level. That spot is randomly chosen. There's quite a few stages that rely on obscuring terrain, and you not being able to see yourself or the enemies in them. And there are goals that you can complete and not realize what you've done. So that makes it difficult to repeat the action the next time you play. Stage 2 brings in your friend. He's been captured by the enemy, so you'll have to shoot out his escorts, and then run into him to connect his ship with yours. Once you reach the end of the area, he flies off, and then he reappears throughout the rest of the game to drop power-ups. He always spits out the same 3 power-ups from the back of his ship. A black orb, a yellow orb, and a blue orb. The black orb gives you a shield that can absorb 1 bullet. Pretty handy for a difficult game with limited lives and no continues. The blue orb adds a rear-firing cannon. Useful, but not top-tier material. The yellow orb greatly increases the size of the blasts your bombs make. Given the number of goals that rely on you destroying ground targets, this is a very handy one to have. All you have to do on Stage 3 is reach the flying saucer and bomb the core, just like you did in the original Xevious. But this time you get to fly inside it. For Stage 4 you have to destroy all of the red targets inside the flying saucer. Once you've done your damage, you fly out, and now you're low to the ground and can only fire your main gun. Stage 5 requires that you take out all of the square targets, and they're hidden throughout the trees. This is as far as I got naturally in the game. Mainly it was the fact that I couldn't see any enemies that killed me here. I should point out as well that when you die, you go back to the start of the stage. There aren't regular checkpoints. A small mercy from the game is that any stationary ground targets that you've destroyed remain destroyed. Now, since that's as far as I got naturally, obviously there's an unnatural way to get further. Start the game, and before you shoot any enemies, press pause. Then hit up, down, left, right, A, B. That takes you to this password screen, where you can enter a code to go to different levels. The codes don't cover the entire game, but you can skip ahead a bit using these. I won't bother going through the rest of the requirements, but you will absolutely have to play with a guide in front of you if you want to have any chance of completing the game. Naturally, Super Xevious is difficult. It's not difficult in a fun way, though, where you feel like, if I gave it one more try, maybe I could get past that point. There's a lot of arbitrary deaths where you really didn't have an opportunity to mitigate it. At least the game looks and sounds good. We're getting more technically impressive Famicom games all the time. Unfortunately, we're seeing it paired with this new style of gameplay where they drag things out through obscurity. Super Xevious Gampno Nazo winds up being a footnote in the Xevious series. The game that's there, but nobody really wants to go back to. I feel like I'm saying this a lot lately, but if it wasn't for a couple of fatal flaws, this would have been a decent game. As it stands, I probably would play it again to try to complete it. I don't think I'd recommend anybody else trying to, though.